Hello, everybody. Welcome to my picks against the spread for Week 15 of the 2025 through 26 NFL season. We begin with Thursday Night Football with the Buccaneers hosting the Falcons. NFC South matchup. The Bucks are 4.5 point favorites at home. The Bucks have not looked good lately. They took a bad loss at home against the terrible New Orleans Saints. Um, but the Falcons are just one of the worst teams in the league. Kirk Cousins played last week against the Seahawks. They got blown out. I feel like Todd Bowles tends to do better when he has less time to prepare. This is a short week. I think the Bucks win this game. I think they cover 4.5. I'll go with Tampa. To the Sunday slate, the Buffalo Bills are 1.5 point favorites in New England against the Patriots, even though the Patriots are 11-2 and won the first matchup against the Bills, who are 9-4. The Patriots are on a 10-game winning streak, and the Patriots are off a bye. The Bills have been a little bit hot and cold, but it seems like they've found their stride a little bit the last 2 weeks, beating Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. The Bills, to me, need this game a lot more than the Patriots do. Josh Allen tends to play his best football in December, and I think the Patriots are due for a loss. Even though Mike Vrabel's never lost off a bye, I will take the Bills to win this game against the Patriots. Chargers at Chiefs. The 6-7 Chiefs are 4.5 point home favorites against a 9-4 Chargers team on a short week. The Chiefs currently look broken. On defense, they can't get off the field on third down. Their offensive line is injured to rights. Their play calling is not very good. Um, but honestly, I was not super impressed with the Chargers win against the Eagles. Their offensive line is also in shambles. I don't trust the Chargers' run defense or their pass protection. I am going to go with the Chargers to cover 4.5, although if I had to give an outright pick for the game, I would say Chiefs by a field goal. The Chiefs, if they lose this game, they are mathematically eliminated, even though they're really close to it right now. They're not completely out of it. Um, I do think the Chiefs win this game and are still mathematically alive for at least another week, but I will take the Chargers to cover 4.5 here. Baltimore Ravens are 2.5 point road favorites against the Bengals. The Bengals are 4-9. Got Joe Burrow back a couple weeks ago. They beat these Ravens in Baltimore in a blowout by 18 points. Lost a close game to the Bills on the road last week. I do not think the Ravens should be favored here. Lamar Jackson has not looked right at all since he came back from the hamstring injury. And as I said, the Bengals blew out the Ravens in Baltimore in prime time just 2 weeks ago. So I'm going to ride with Cincy here. I think they win this game outright. The Jets at the Jaguars. The Jaguars are huge home favorites against the Jets. The Jaguars aren't a very trustworthy team, but the Jets are a terrible team that just got blown out at home against the Dolphins. The Jets, they do tend to play better at home sometimes, but they're pretty DOA on the road against any competent opponent. I am going to ride with the Jaguars to blow out the Jets because the Jaguars have been blowing out a lot of the teams they've played lately. The Philadelphia Eagles on a 3-game losing streak, 11.5 point home favorites against the Las Vegas Raiders. I really don't feel comfortable with this pick at all, but I cannot say the Eagles are going to cover 11.5 with how they've looked the last 3 weeks and how the vibes appear to be with that team. Sneaky fact, Pete Carroll as a head coach, undefeated in his career against the Philadelphia Eagles. Of course, all those games were when he was the head coach of the Seahawks, and of course, those Seahawks teams were much better than this Raiders team. But the Eagles have not. The Eagles have, I believe, only won one game this year by more than 10 points, and it was at home against the New York Giants, who they typically own. So I do not think the Raiders can win this game outright, um, but I think they cover 11.5 here. Cleveland Browns at the Bears. The Bears are 7.5 point home favorites. This is a Browns team that just lost at home to the Titans. That great defense is not as great on the road. The Bears did lose last week to the Packers, but that was a respectable loss. It's not like they got dominated. And the Bears have been one of the best teams in the NFL. course, they started 0-2, but since they're 9-2. Um, yeah, I think the Bears blow out the Browns here. I think they need to keep pace in the NFC North. This is not a game they'll sleep on. Commanders at Giants. The Giants are 2.5 point home favorites against the Commanders. I don't know. I really don't know which way to go here. I would say the Commanders because I'm not going to take the Giants as a favorite, but the Commanders also lost 31 to nothing to the Vikings, and JJ McCarthy had the best game of his career to this point, and outside of that game against the Commanders, he's really struggled. I really don't know which side to roll with here, so you know what? I'm not I can't pick the Giants as a favorite. I'm going to go with the Commanders. Arizona at Houston. The Texans are 9.5 point home favorites. Of course, the Texans just had a big win in Kansas City. They've been one of the hottest teams. They've been the hottest team in the NFL. That defense is incredible. But with 9.5 points, I think that's too much. I think the Texans win this game by probably a touchdown, something like 20 to 13. I just don't think that offense is trustworthy enough to lay 9.5 points. Green Bay Packers are 2.5 point favorites in Denver. The Broncos are, like the Patriots, are on a 10-game winning streak. They've not lost a game since week 3. But I'm going to say that both the Broncos and the Patriots have their win streaks snapped this week. The Broncos have been playing pretty dangerously really all year. They've essentially lived in close games. And I think Bo Nix could really struggle against the Packers defense. And we have seen when the Packers play their A game, they can beat anybody. So I will go with the Packers to win this game. The Colts at the Seahawks. The Seahawks are 13.5 point home favorites. They're very big home favorites, in large part because the Colts quarterback Daniel Jones tore his Achilles this week, and we don't know who their quarterback's going to be. It's looking very possible. It is 44-year-old Philip Rivers, just called up out of retirement. If Philip Rivers plays in this game, I I I fear for Rivers. I fear for Philip Rivers if he plays in this game against that Seahawks defense on the road. Otherwise, I think the Colts are in complete disarray. I think this is absolutely a spot where the Seahawks blow out the Colts. So I'm going to ride with Seattle. The Lions at the Rams. The Rams are 5.5 point home favorites. I don't think the Rams are going to have much of a home field advantage in this game. Um, and although the Lions have struggled a little bit on the road this year against good teams, I think the common denominator there is those games have been outdoors. This is going to be in a dome. Jared Goff does his best work when he plays in a dome. It's obviously a very important game for the Lions. I think it's more an important game for the Lions than it is for the Rams. I think this is a field goal game, so I'll go with the Lions to cover 5.5 on the road. Tennessee at San Francisco. Uh, San Francisco's coming off a bye, I believe, and Tennessee is the worst team in the league. I mean, I can't say the Titans are going to cover 12.5 here. I know they beat the Browns, but it's the Browns. So I'll ride with San Francisco. Carolina Panthers are 2.5 point favorites on the road against the Saints. A few weeks ago, the Panthers lost at home to the Saints, uh, but the Panthers are coming off a bye. I have a tough time trusting the Panthers. They've been an up and down team, but I do think they're going to win this game, and they're only 2.5 point favorites, so I'll side with the Panthers. The Vikings are 5.5 point underdogs in Dallas. Of course, the Vikings just won 31 to nothing at home against the Commanders. The Cowboys have the mini bye. They lost in Detroit on Thursday night. I like the Cowboys here. The Cowboys are in must-win territory. Uh, it's not likely they catch the Eagles for the division or make the playoffs, but if the Eagles slip, um, which they're kind of already slipping right now, there's a game the Cowboys have to win. It's at home where the Cowboys have been much better, especially that offense has been much better. And while JJ McCarthy had a really good game against the Commanders, I need to see him do it 2 weeks in a row. So for now, I'll side with the Cowboys. And then lastly, Monday Night Football, Miami Dolphins at the Steelers. The Dolphins have been have been really hot lately, and the Steelers have been stumbling a little bit, although they did beat the Ravens on the road last week. Uh, I know I did this last week and I was wrong about it. The Dolphins were slight favorites in New York against the Jets. I picked the Jets to win the game outright and they lost 34 to 10. But again, I just don't trust Tua in the cold. And this game's going to be in the cold and in prime time as well. That's another place where Tua tends to struggle. I'm going to ride with the Steelers -3. And those are my picks for against the spread for Week 15. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.